Folks, my name is Israel Del Toro. I'm the instructor for Biology 170, and today I'm going to be walking you through a series of steps to installing R and RStudio, which are basically the two softwares programs that we're going to be using for our class in Introductory Biostats. To do that, all we're going to do is go online, find our server here, and just simply go to www.r.project.org, which is going to bring you up to this simple looking page. All we want to do here is click on the Download R button up here and navigate through this page. Now, you're going to get this page that's called CRAN Mirrors. And what a CRAN Mirror is it's basically a copy of R. R is a very large program. And in order to save you space on your computer and on your machine, you don't actually have to install the full program onto your machine. You actually work off of one of the R servers. In this case, we're working off of the server that is closest to us. And you can see that these servers are all over the world, from Algeria all the way down to the US. And so if we go to the US servers, we want to pick the one that is closest to us just to increase our own personal efficiency. So we're going to go and work with the Michigan Tech University R server, click on that guy, and then brings you to a new download and install page. Once you get to this page, you simply select the system that you're working with. In this case, I'm working with a Mac, but you may be on a Windows, so the installation may look a little bit different, but not too much. Click on that, and then it brings up, this takes you then to a new page that shows you all of the available versions of R, or the latest, most recent available versions of R, ranging from 3.2-.1 to the most recent one up here, which is called R 3.4.2 Short Summer, and it was released on the 28th of September. So we want that guy. We're going to go ahead and just simply click on it, and it's automatically going to download onto your computer. And you'll see that it's only 61 megabytes, so it's a relatively small program. Once it downloads, you can simply go through the installation procedure and continue on to this through your licensing, agree, and then you'll want to install it on your specific hard disk. In this case, I have about 2 terabytes available, so it's no problem to handle that. And it tells me, the computer here tells me that it's going to take about 146 megabytes of space, so very little space, in fact. I'm going to enter my username and password, and since I did this just a few minutes ago, I'm going to go ahead and cancel out, but you can finish the installation type on your own. Once you do that, R will be essentially permanently on your machine. Of course, you could delete it if you wanted to, but for this term, you're going to use it quite heavily. So to bring up R on your machine, I just simply go to my search bar and type the letter R. And under R, there is an application called R. So it's going to double click on that guy, and it's going to bring me into my R console. I'm going to make this big here for a second. Okay, so the R console looks pretty scary, right? I can essentially have very, very few components here to actually work with. There is some line here to enter, essentially a command line to enter our code, and we can say build code that looks like this. And the object hello may not be found, but that's okay. We can also create code inside of R, creating a new RMD document or RD document. By doing this, this brings up a simple text editor. Here is where you might want to type out code. Once you type it out code, you can actually send it from here directly to the console, and it would run. But for 99.9% of this course, we're actually not going to be working with R itself. We're going to be working with a secondary bit of software called RStudio. RStudio, I'm going to walk you through the installation process of that. I'm going to close out of here for now. What I've just shown you here in R, think of that as the engine to your car. You hardly ever look under the hood. but you know that's where all the magic is happening. But for now, let's look at all the other specs. So we're going to go ahead and go to RStudio now. And for RStudio, what I like to do, because I can never remember the site, even though it's really simple, I just do a quick Google search for RStudio. And it'll be the first one that comes up, and it's just rstudio.com. I can never remember if it's .com or .org, but it's .com. This brings you up to a rather nice looking page here, much nicer than the R actual page, and we can navigate through this page pretty easily. One of the first things you'll see here will be RStudio download, and that's where we're going to go ahead and get our latest version from. Going to click on download, and there you'll notice that there are quite a few different versions of R available, things that are free all the way to things that can be $30,000 a year to access. Obviously, we're not going to work with any of those. We're going to go ahead and just work with our RStudio desktop and our RStudio server, which are our two free options. We'll click download, and once again, you'll select your system, whether you're working on Windows or Mac. And once again, you'll go through the full installation procedure. So down here is where my RStudio is being downloaded. It's going to open up that bit. And now I have RStudio available. To fully install RStudio, all you want to do is drag it into your applications. And you may require administrator access to do this. And since I already have an older copy of RStudio, I don't want to quite delete that just yet. So once you drag it into your applications, once you've successfully installed RStudio onto your machine, and I'll show you what RStudio now looks like. Let's pop that guy open. RStudio, I like to have it on my bar here, so I just can click on it. But you can also find it through your search button. And once you open up your RStudio, you get something that might look a little like this. In fact, yours is probably going to look a little bit different because your global options are different. But I'll walk you through these different windows in just a second here. All right, let's take a look at RStudio. One of the things I just mentioned were our global options. If we click on that, we can change our appearances. And so this might be something like the appearance that you might currently have, but I like to have a darker appearance on my console. So I'll just apply this dark one here. That just basically changes the colors of my text and editing to make it a little bit more easy for my eyes to understand. So now that you've changed your colors and you've made it nice and cozy for yourself, what we want to do is essentially take a look at what each one of these windows does. So there's 4 windows. We'll start off with the top left-hand corner. And in the top left-hand corner is our text editor. This is essentially where we write our code. This is where basically any annotations or any code that we want to build, we want to write it up here. This is where we input the directions that we want R to run. So essentially, going back to my analogy of a car, this is the steering wheel of the car. This is the steering wheel and the gas pedals, where you tell it how fast to go and which direction to go. Once you've input those directions, the information gets transported to the engine, which is the R console itself. This is what we just installed from the internet. And if you look, it's the same version that we've just put in before, 3.42. Essentially, it's just the previous R window that I had shown you. It's just on a slightly different layout. Once your code gets run through your engine, then the output gets sent out to the bottom right-hand window. This is our plotting window. This is where we're going to go ahead and see all of our plots, see all of our exported plots, see all of our different packages that we're using. This is also where we're going to see our help window. I like to think of this as the windshield of a car. This is where you get to view all of the hard work that you've done. There's also a fourth window up here on the top right hand corner, and this is called your global environment window. As we import data sets and different packages, those are going to start to populate your global environment. I like to think of the global environment sort of as a dashboard to your car, where you can see how fast you're going, or change the radio station, or maybe change gears on your car. This is all taking place in your global environment. So that's it. That's the basic layout of R and RStudio. They're relatively easy to install, relatively easy to get going, and once you're installed, you're ready to start building some code. So that does it for my first video.